وتصديقه فيما أخبر، واجتناب ما نهى عنه، وأن لا يعبد الله إلا بما شرع، وأن لا يعبد الله إلا بما شرع. هذا هو توحيد أو أهم المسائل في توحيد الألوهية. يتلخص لكم منها أن هذا التوحيد هو الذي وقع فيه الخصومة والنزاع بين النبيين عليهم الصلاة والسلام وبين مخالفيهم من قومهم. ولا أظنه يغيب عنكم أيها المسلمون والمسلمات قول الله عز وجل فيما قصه علينا من خبر قريش مع نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم إذ قالوا أجعل الآلهة إلها واحدة إن هذا لشيء عجاب. فتفضل الشيخ حسن.
So the Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, Sheikh Ubayd ibn Abdullah al-Jabiri, he said it continuing, he said, and I say that the second type of Tawheed, and he said, reminding you that this type of Tawheed and Tawheed, the various divisions, cannot be separated from one another. They are all linked and they are all connected. Mutalazim. He said, and this is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. And the Shaykh posed the question, what is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah? He said, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah is singling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out, singling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out with the actions of the creation, with those actions that Allah has legislated, that we may worship Him by and come close to Him. So Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah is Ifradullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, singling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out by or with the actions of the creation, with those actions that Allah has legislated for us to worship Him and come close to Him. And he said, and he gave examples, dua, invoking Allah, salah, prayer, zakah, hajj, honoring the parents, keeping the ties of relations. And the Shaykh said, from here, inshallah, after mentioning the definition of Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, we'll mention to you the first, one of many things. He said the first of these things is that this Tawheed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent all of the messengers with this. Meaning Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. All of the messengers were sent with Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. For this Tawheed, all of the books were revealed upon the messengers and the prophets. Likewise, the da'wah of all of the messengers agreed upon this. The da'wah agreed that they all called to this Tawheed. He said, and there was not a prophet or a messenger except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent, except that his da'wah, his call was founded upon this Tawheed, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Sheikh said, here is some proof from the Quran to establish that which he just mentioned. And he mentioned various points under the first issue that he was discussing. He said, the first ayah, and verily we sent to every nation a messenger commanding the people to worship Allah alone and stay away from the false deities. And he mentioned the ayah, we'll mention the ayah first, and we did not send before you Muhammad a messenger, except that we commanded him to say, except that we commanded him, or we revealed to him, that none has the right to be worshipped except me. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Shaykh said that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us and informed us about, likewise concerning his two chosen messengers, and likewise about all of the noble messengers and prophets, Nuh, Hud, Salih, Shu'aib, and all of the prophets, that the first kalima, the first word the first thing that they would say to their people, that they would call their nations to, would be what? And he mentioned the ayah, O my people, worship Allah, for verily you have no ilah except Him. O my people, worship Allah, for verily you have no ilah except Him. And the Shaykh, he said, so therefore, the dispute and the argumentation and the quarrels between the prophets and the messengers and their nations, between the Nabiyeen, the prophets and their nations, was concerning this Tawheed. And jihad was fought due against the mushrikun, the polytheists, due to this Tawheed. And the Shaykh, he said, so the people were either a believer in the messenger, and the believer in the messenger, a believer, and the one who was a believer was the one who believed in the messenger and believed in Tawheed. And they were either a disbeliever in the messenger, and they were those who disbelieved in this Tawheed. The Shaykh said, pay an important point, pay attention, brothers and sisters, to this important point. That if this point that he's mentioning now, if the prophets and messengers said to their people, O my people, worship Allah, and left it at that. If the prophets and messengers would have said, O my people, worship Allah, and left it there would have not been any dispute. There would have not been any dispute or argumentation. He said rather there would have been agreement. The people would have agreed to it. He said the prophets, they made their da'wah clear, and they called the people to worship Allah alone. So just to highlight, explain, meaning if the people would have said, oh my people, worship Allah, and not mentioned about worship Allah alone, people would not argue and not dispute it. But when they said, and when the prophets and messengers made their da'wah precisely clear, and they called them to worship Allah alone, single Allah out with all worship, the prophets were fought, and they were belittled, and they were mocked. And the Shaykh said this is a proof of the importance of this type of Tawheed, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. And he said Allah informed us that He never created the jinn and the ins, mankind, except for one purpose, and that was to worship Him as well. And he mentioned the ayah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and we did not create the jinn or mankind except to worship me alone. So he said from here it becomes clear that the religion, the fundamental and the foundation of this religion is built upon two things. It becomes clear from the verses of the Quran, and likewise it becomes clear from the Tawheed of al-Uluhiyyah that all of the messengers agreed upon. That the religion, the foundation of the religion is built upon two things. And the Shaykh, he said, number one, he said that the foundation and fundamental of this religion is built upon da'wah, calling to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and encouraging the people to worship Allah alone, and loving those who worship Allah alone, and declaring those whoever leaves of at-Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, whoever leaves of this, meaning worshiping Allah alone, then we declare them to be disbelievers. Secondly, and he will mention it likewise the second part of the first part. He mentioned warning against shirk, meaning associating or ascribing partners with Allah. And we're harsh for the one who falls into it, and we hate the one who falls into it, and we declare whoever falls into a shirk, associates partners with Allah, we declare them to be disbelievers. So the Shaykh, he said, so therefore we make takfir of the one who leaves Tawheed, the one who does not fulfill it, and we make takfir of the one who falls into a shirk. So the Shaykh, he said the second thing is that all the prophets and messengers, they agreed upon one religion. They agreed upon one religion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them upon one deen. And what is this deen? He said this religion is al-Islam. This religion is al-Islam, of which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send any prophet or messenger except with this. And the Shaykh mentioned the ayah, Inna ad-deen, verily the religion with Allah is al-Islam. And he mentioned the hadith upon Anas radiallahu ta'ala an, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said to Ubayd, Allah commanded me to read to you the Quran. So the companion responded, did he mention me by name?